Jeff, I have the privilege of starting off our questions, and this is about vision and governance. So I want to remind you, my session is about 5 minutes. There is a timer in front, and so we will make sure we have to stay within that time frame, and then I will pass it to my colleague, Aaliyah. So the first question is that the education sector is really in need of a champion. We need a vision for the future. Philadelphia has the ability to be a world-class city. Please share with us what your vision is and what are the top 3 levers that you will pull to get us to the how to meet that vision.
Thank you, Stacy. When I take a step back and look at our system, there's a number of things that don't make sense to me, and my vision is to correct those things that don't make sense. And I can't believe that anyone would disagree with these 3 things, but we'll find out. The first thing is for high academically performing students that plan a career that requires a college degree, we have some incredibly good schools in our district, and they have big waiting lists. And it seems to me that we are not keeping or treating children's education as our first priority if you have an indefinitely big waiting list, whether it's a district-run school or a charter school. If we really care about the young people's education, we would, if Masterman and Central and Girls High are the best ways, Boys Latin are the best ways to educate young people for college, then we should have 2 of each of them. Because we shouldn't indefinitely have thousands of young people waiting for a good, high-quality slot. The second is that more than 50% of our young people do not have a plan to go to college. And personally, I'm from a family, I'm from 4 kids. Not all my brothers and sisters were college material, but they were forced to go to college. And in my own family, we did the same thing. And I'm reflecting on that. Some of us are just born with a different kind of mind. And you know, it's just clear as could be, we're not all the same. And some young people love to work with their hands, and their highest and best place to be is in a career and technical job, which, by the way, often pays more than some of the college-educated jobs. And I feel that we've really diminished our career and technical education in Philadelphia. And it's certainly not world-class. It's certainly not taking advantage of some of the really high-paying career and technical jobs that exist. So I'd want to build out that capacity. And the third thing is our physical plant. We read in the news about schools being closed for asbestos, and that is a gigantic problem, and that asbestos has been there for a very long time. But it goes way beyond that. We have really old buildings that I don't know what our plan is. But we have too many empty seats in the district schools. We probably don't have enough seats in some of the charter schools because there's long waiting lists. And I think first we have to decide where do we want to be with our buildings and how do we get there. And I would imagine that there has to be a lot of changes, maybe buildings that need to be knocked down or rebuilt, and other physical changes of moving the equipment around so you have primarily full schools that have air conditioning and no leaky roofs, no asbestos, so on and so forth. And you know, I think this is a great time to reimagine that, because with the Commonwealth decision, I expect more operating dollars from the state, and I also think there's a good chance to ask for a down payment on the capital dollars to realize this vision.
So, okay, Jeff, we have 1 minute left for my section, so let me ask you one question, which is, you know, those are all very interesting, the right things to do. The question is, how do we pay for it? Number 1. And how do you get started with a community conversation? Because all these decisions will impact community. So how do you as mayor envision having a conversation with community about their facilities?
So I think it starts out with a vision that we want to go from really struggling in our educational outcomes to have high-performing results. And then you convert that into a vision for facilities and academic curriculum. And you have to go present it to the communities, because the way you're not going to have lots of people boycotting us is they have to be included. And we have a bad track record. I mean, we've closed schools, they're still closed a decade later, and communities are upset about the impact on their community. We have to come in with a plan that's complete of what we want to shut down, what we want to knock down and rebuild, and what are we going to do with it. And we should get feedback from the community. That will go a long way. And if we're trying to really do a good job improving the education of our students, I think we'll get the support of the community.
Okay, thank you so
How
much.
we're going to pay for it?
And how you going to pay for it?
Yeah. Old buildings cost a lot of money. Some of it can be paid for with the savings of having a new, modern, properly sized building. And I also expect to get a down payment from the Commonwealth based on the court decision. I also think if some of those buildings are in the charter area, they can independently fundraise.
Okay.
And maybe we give them a longer term contract, if they're going to put a lot of capital out, so they could attract the capital.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And now I'll turn over to Leah.
So this is an unplanned question based on your response, but I need this to be shorter so I could get to this hot topic, okay?
Political
All right.
people are long.
Yes, that's all right. I'm a proud practitioner, and you just spoke about the need to double special admit schools. So proud to be at a non-special admit school. What is your plan for those schools? Do you believe that there should be a quality school in every zip code for every child?
Yes. Look, when you send your kid, your child on SEPTA, you're taking a risk. And I can understand, especially when they're young, you need to have the school in the local neighborhood that's a quality school. But when their career starts to emerge and it's heading in a certain direction, we're only going to have so many schools that have certain curriculum. Like if you want to learn to be a welder. By the way, CCP's facility is incredible. Dr. General spent a lot of time with me in it, and there's high schools that should look like that. So yes, I do think our education has to start local, but as you get a specialty, you can't have a million specialized programs.
Okay, thank you. So as you know, the violence in our city is really increasing, but not just in Philadelphia. I have to say it's in most major cities. There's this increase, but it's a very big concern for educators and the families that we serve. So what are some of the ways to which you would implement programs to make our scholars safe both inside and outside of school?
Thank you. So I've spent a lot of time on this topic because I've been endorsed by almost every police organization in the city, and I spend a lot of time with them to find out what's going on. And almost all of them are short 25–30% of their workforce. That's a problem. Most of them report to me that they're not properly equipped, including the people that work in schools, not CCP, but in our high schools. They're saying they're not properly equipped. And for example, lots of doors in the school. And there's not proper door control as far as I'm concerned, because if you have a school that's at high risk, all the kids should go through the central entrance area, but young people can let others in, and do we have control of that? And so I think we need a comprehensive review of our security plan, including staffing, CCTV cameras, and integrated work with the other police agencies, so we're working together as a team.
Do you think we could police our way out of this issue?
No, can't
So
police
what
your
else
way out
would
of it.
what else would you implement?
So-
more security and police, but what else?
Yeah, the most important thing is we should have an early detection system when a young person's going in the wrong direction. You guys would know a lot better than anyone else. And so there should be resources to help a young person before they get to a violent situation. And one of the most important ways we could help, my wife taught me this with our 4 sons, keep them busy. Keep them busy. And we've actually defunded rec programs. For the last couple of years, we haven't had lifeguards, we haven't had librarians, and that's not keeping kids busy. And so we really need to take those investments much more seriously.
Thank you. So we also have a shortage of educators, as you know, and other really pivotal staff to keep, also that helps with the safety in the building. What is your stance on how to recruit and retain more educators?
Well, I think it would start in high school. Some of our young people that think they may be interested in an educational career, we should have a curriculum for that, and we should have a program to finance their college education with the understanding that they come work for us for a period of time, especially black male teachers that we're short. We need a lot more of them.
We do need more black teachers, and to that point, what would particularly your recruitment of black teachers be?
So I think you start in high school, and you say, look, we really need you, and you will make a big difference to our students. So this is what we're going to do for you. We're going to start in high school. We're going to let you start taking community college classes that we pay for. We're going to pay for your whole education, and in turn, we want you to come work with us.
Thank you so much. I will turn it over to my colleague.
You're turning over 40
Wow.
40
Gonna
whole
ask me
seconds.
another
You
question.
got a lot of questions in there.
It wouldn't last.
All right. Jeff, so I have the higher education questions as the higher ed guy on the stage. So I grew up in Philly, and most of my family at one time or another worked for ShopRite. My mom worked for ShopRite for 20 years in West Philly. My brother, my sister, myself at one time or another. I didn't have the privilege of working at one of your stores, but while working at one of your stores, my brother, he took out student loans to attain a post-secondary credential that unfortunately he was not able to complete due to financial hardship. Ultimately, Josh became one of 1 million Pennsylvanians with some college, no degree, and a mountain of student debt. So here's my question to you. As more companies across the country begin to provide employees with more post-secondary support through tuition reimbursement or scholarship programs, can you talk about what role Philadelphia-based companies can and should play in promoting employee access to post-secondary education? And as mayor, what would you do to promote partnerships between Philadelphia-based companies and local colleges to improve Philadelphia's post-secondary attainment rates?
Yeah, that's a really good question. In my company today, and we have, I think, 2,300 mostly unionized employees. I think all of our union contracts do have an education reimbursement. Not a huge amount, but they do. And when we have employees that are high potential employees, we will pay for their education if they're committing to stay with us to do a job. And so we have paid for a lot of education. I think that's a very, very good policy from a company standpoint, because people don't grow on trees. And you have to invest in people to get what you want. It's very hard to staff any business today. And that's how you have a homegrown team that knows what they're doing. And I honestly think the government should also participate in that, because look at our teacher shortage. We're not going to be able to operate schools if we can't help more people go into education, and the government can't stand on the sidelines and do nothing.
Sure, thank you. As someone who worked in higher ed policy at the statewide level, I know that there's not a whole lot that mayors think that they can do when it comes to the college space. There's a lot of influence that mayors have when it comes to K-12, of course, but we have seen a lot of mayors, including in Philadelphia, historically make investments and engage in dynamic policies to improve post-secondary education outcomes within cities. And so with that being said, and also realizing that community colleges are one sector where mayors do have considerable influence, can you talk about what your vision would be for the Community College of Philadelphia specifically, and how you would ensure that its graduates have access to employment opportunities that match their skills and their aspirations?
So our community college here is an incredible institution, and it's a super good value. I mean, the same curriculum here costs less than if we tried to do it in our K through 12 system. And so you see what's happening. Some of our young people are starting to take advantage of that and get an associate's degree before they graduate high school. That's an incredibly good value. And being that we're one of the poorest big cities, or the poorest big city in the country, it's a great way to help people out of poverty. The Cato program, excellent program. I mean, based on our financial realities, I'd like to see that expanded and potentially have a hybrid option where the young person in high school is explaining to us their vision of what they want to do, and where we would be in a position in investing to help them get there.
So I love to hear that answer as the executive director of the Cato Scholarship. So I guess I'm curious, Jeff, what, if you do have that interest to potentially expand the Cato Scholarship so that more residents across the city could benefit from the opportunity, what steps specifically do you feel like you would have to take to begin for the city to move in that direction?
Yeah, so I think it's an obviously good investment, but this is the hierarchy of how I think about it. We're the poorest big city in the country. We have a tremendous poverty problem. We spend an incredible amount of money trying to exist with this enormous poverty problem. The question is, what are our pathways to help people out of poverty? And education is an incredibly big pathway. So we talked a little bit about K through 12, but for those young people that are interested in careers that require a college degree, it makes sense to do it. I think the city should invest, because it's pay me now or pay me later. And if you let a person not have an education to make a living, you're going to end up paying. You're going to be paying involuntarily when all the things that happen to a person that's stuck in poverty happen.
Thank you. So it looks like you have about 52 seconds left in your allotted amount of time, and so this is just an opportunity. If there's anything that we haven't had a chance to ask you about that you would just like to say within your 40 seconds left, we want to give you that opportunity to use that.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here today. I think, and I think Stacy alluded to this, it starts out with the mayor with a vision, and you build the infrastructure to make change happen. And I also think it affects your appointment to the board, the school board, because we need a school board that is dedicated to educating our young people first. We're interested in other things, but the young people's education is first. And we would like to see a transparent system in which everybody in the system understands what we did and why we did it, and it's equitable all the way around. That's what I hope to do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you please join me in thanking candidate Brown?